All right. Hello, everyone. So today we're going to do the inevitable um, solar system. And this is like a rite of passage for anybody that starts doing animation in Maya. I gotta get a little caffeine and some sugar. Um, so in order to do this, we need to know about the solar system. This isn't, of course, going to be to scale because if it was, the sun would be gigantic and all these other ones would be really teeny. So it's going to be relative. The only one with rings is going to be Saturn. I know the other guys have it. The only one with moons is going to be the Earth. We're going to have Pluto in there, but and we might put it into the different orbit that Pluto has, even though it is a dwarf planet. I just don't want to leave it out because I feel sad for Pluto and I have compassion for it. And then what we're also going to need is all right, welcome everyone. So today we're going to do the inevitable solar system um, project. This is like a rite of passage for anybody that's doing animation in Maya. It teaches a lot of different elements of Maya, so it's a great exercise. And I'm going to try to make it as entertaining as possible. I've seen some videos out there that were horrifically boring. So I hope that this isn't going to be as much of a soporific as they are. So first off, if we're going to do the solar system, we have to know a little bit about the solar system. It's not going to be to scale because if it was, it would be the sun would be gigantic. And these guys would be barely noticeable. So it's going to be relative so that we can see it and enjoy it. Saturn is going to be the only one with rings. The Earth is going to be the only one with moons. And due to my compassion for Pluto, I'm going to include it, even though some might argue that you shouldn't. But it is a dwarf planet, so the word planet's in there somewhere. We might even make the tilted orbit of Pluto in there as well. Now, the other thing that you need for this is you'll need some textures, and I have them available for my students. Um, let's see, where are our textures? Solar system. These are our textures. I got them off of, I don't know what site I actually got them off of, so I can't really tell you, but I got it somewhere, like Planet Textures. If you do a search for that, you can find them. They're very, very pretty textures. So if you look at them, you can get some 2K, and there's even some 4K textures. So those are they. All right. So to start with, we're going to start with the sun, and we're going to put the sun right in the middle. So we go to Create, Polygon Primitives, Sphere. Let's make this guy a little bit bigger over there. And then we're going to create the other planets. So we can just duplicate the sun. Let's make it super tiny for Mercury. A lot smaller. Right over there. Next comes Venus. Venus is a little bigger. And next comes Earth, which is slightly bigger. Next comes Mars, which is bigger than Mercury. Next comes Jupiter, which is quite large in comparison. Next comes Saturn, which is smaller. Next comes Uranus, and yes, I'm going to pronounce it like that so nobody giggles. And then Neptune, which is just a little smaller. And then Pluto. So that's good enough right there. So we have our planets. All right. Now let's make the sun just a skosh bigger. Remember to keep that sun right there in the center and keep all these guys right along that center. This is important. And I'm going to move Saturn out just a little bit. I just select these guys and move it. And I might make Saturn just a little smaller. All right, so now move these guys out a little more. Now we're going to make the rings on Saturn. And actually, before we do that, let's make the moon for Earth. So to do that, I'm just going to, what I've been doing here to duplicate is just pressing Control D and then moving it around. So we want to make sure that the moon is nicely aligned. If I turn on shading, wireframe on shaded, we want it to align with that vert up there. So snapping, of course, went over in class. You hold down V, and we're going to hold on to this axis. We're going to hold on to that, and then we're going to aim the mouse right at the top there. And so now that's nicely aligned. And then we're going to make it smaller, not as small as the moon might be, but we're going to make it small enough so that you can see it. And there you are. So now we have the moon. I might move that moon in just a little bit. We want it to have some effect on the waves so that surfers have something to do. Let's save this. Solar. New solar system 2. All right. So now we're going to make the rings of Saturn. To do that, we're going to create polygon primitives. I'm going to create a torus. And I'm going to bring that out. So tori are notoriously hard to figure out the difference between the radii. There's 2 radii that are included, and the section radius. So I'm going to snap first the center point to the top of Saturn, so it's right in the center there. I'm going to see what happens if I move these things around. There's that. See if I add this. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. I'm going to do 1.5, and hey, that's good enough. So the subdivision axis is good at 20, but we want to change the subdivision height to 3, so that's super minimal. I don't know if anyone pressed 3 on the keyboard. That'll turn it into subdivs. You don't want that. You want it set. You want 1, so that we're looking at the regular polygons. Now we want to look at from the side, and we're going to go into wireframe mode. Then we're going to go into polygon or face mode by pressing F11, and we're just going to select the bottom verts or bottom faces. If I go into shaded by pressing 5, you'll see that the top part isn't selected, so we have the bottom part over there. Press that, and now we have just the faces over there, like the rings of Saturn, as though it was Marilyn Monroe over a subway. Great. So then go over here and double click on that edge. So just to show what I did there, I went into edge mode, I pressed F10, and then I double clicked on one of those edges, and it selected the edge loop. If I go into scale, I can now scale that in a little bit. That's closer, but we still have it up a little bit. So we don't want that. I'll double click on the outside and press W, and now we have our handle. Now we're going to snap, vert snap, just this one axis, which is the Y axis, to the Y axis of this vert over here. So I hold down V, I hold down on this guy, and then I aim it right at that. Now if we look at it from the side, it's nice and flat. Since we still have that edge loop selected, I'm going to scale it out a little bit so it looks a little bit more Saturn-like. And there we go. So now we have all of the planets all set up. Um, what we're going to do now is we're going to start naming them after we save it. We're going to click on this one and then in the outliner, and you can turn on and off the outliner if you click on this little button. I'm going to double click there and I'm going to say sun or subin. And then this one should be, there we are, and that one is Mercury. This one should be Venus. And this one should be Earth. And this is Mars. And this is Jupiter. And this is just a planet for Saturn. And over here is Uranus. And over here is Neptune. And over here is Pluto. And over here is the moon for the Earth. And over here are Saturn underscore rings. All right, save that one again. So now we have all these guys named. What we want to do now is we want to set up our shaders. So to do that, we go to Windows, Modeling Editors, nope, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. Let me bring that up. Here we go. So now we're going to have to create a shader for all these guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 new shaders. And to create a shader, this is where all our shaders are. This is the material viewer of the shader. This is the property of each shader. And this is the node network inside of each shader. And you'll see how that works when we start creating them. So in this one, I go to Create, I go to Materials, I go to Lambert, and we've created a new one. Now I'm going to change the name here to Sun Text. And so we have one over there. Now we need a total of 12, so we're going to duplicate it 11 times. And to duplicate it, make sure that texture is selected, and then press Control D 11 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9, 10, 11. No, that's not how it went. All right, so now we have the sun as the first one. Let's change these guys to the names that they're going to be used, ultimately be used for. So sun text is there. We'll click on sun text 1. We'll change that to Mercury underscore text. The next one we'll change to Venus text. Next will be Earth text. Next will be Mars text. Has to be underscore because Maya doesn't like spaces. Next is Jupiter underscore text. Next is Saturn underscore text. Next is Uranus underscore text. Next is Neptune underscore text. Next is Pluto underscore text. Next is Saturn rings text. Next is moon text. All right, so now we did all the names, and now we're going to apply the textures. So let's click on sun, and then we go to graph, input output connections. That will clear up this graph so we can look at the nodes. And we go into the property editor. We're going to change the color. And so here, instead of clicking on that, we go over to here, which is adding a node. So we click on this checkerboard, create render node, and we click on file. So now we've created a file node. Then over here, file attributes, image name, click on the folder, and here's our textures. If you click over here, you can see them in the preview. We're going to, so the first one is sun. So we're going to click on sun, ching, and that one's set. Now let's go to the next one. I'm just going to go randomly through these guys, or we can go to Mercury. Let's do that. Why not? Live dangerously. Input output connections. And then we go over to the property editor, click on color, file node, and then we click on image name. We go to Mercury, click open on that. We got that going. Next one is Venus. So look for Venus here. There. Input output connections. Input output connections. There we go. Click on create a node. File. That file name. We're on Venus. Venus surface. Click open. So we're good there. And now we're going to go to Earth. Click on that. Input output connections. Go create a node. File. Find the image name. And Earth day map. That's good. Now we go to Mars. Input output connections. Create a node. File. File name. And on Mars, that and that. All right, then we go to Jupiter. And Jupiter, there we are. Input output connections. Create a node. Go to File. Go over here to image name. Find Jupiter. Over there. That's all set. Next is Saturn. Select Saturn. Oh, Saturn, not the rings. Input output connections. Create a node. File. Image name. Saturn. Open. And next is Uranus. Click on that. Input output connections. Create a node. File. File name. And what are we on? Uranus. And that one. And then next is Neptune. Click on Neptune. Input output connections. And node. File. And then file. And let's see here. Which one are we on? Neptune. That one. Open. All right. Got that. And next one is Pluto. Click on Pluto. Graph. Input and output connections. And then click on create a node. File. Pluto. Click on the folder. Pluto map. Open. And next we have the moon. So we're going to go over here, select moon, and click on the create a node. Well, before we do that, let's click on moon. Make sure input output. There we go. Click on create a node, file, and then look for the file name and go to the moon. To the moon. And then the last one is Saturn rings. Saturn rings is going to be a little different because it's a PNG and it has embedded transparency. There's a couple ways you can do transparency. PNGs are good. You can do TGAs, which a lot of people at least in the gaming industry and a lot of companies I've been at, they like those for transparency. I don't know when PNGs started being used. We never used them. EA or LucasArts. So we have rings, and we'll click on create a node and file, and then we'll go to this, and then we look for Saturn rings alpha. It looks like that. you open that. Now, the neat thing about newer versions of Maya is it recognizes it has transparency, so it sets up the transparency for you already. All right, so we have all of the shaders all set up. Well, they're not thoroughly set up because we're going to do a few things later on for the rendering, but for the beginning, this is all we need. So now what we'll do is we'll start applying these guys. So we just go from one to the next. We start with the sun. So we have the sun selected, go over to our hypershade, and then we hold down the right mouse button and we go up to apply material to selection. And you're like, where the hell is the texture? I just did that, you ungrateful computer program. But in reality, you just need to press 6 and then the texture will show up. Because the sphere already has a created UV with it, you don't have to mess with the UVs, so that's pretty neat. All right, let's turn off wireframe unshaded. And then now a note, if you click on an object, you click on that and then you want to put texture over here, this is Mercury, and then you click on this and you try to apply it, it doesn't remember what the object was that you just had selected. So you have to click on this, go over here and hold down your right mouse button, hold down your right mouse button, and then it selects it and it adds it. All right, so this one is Venus. Shh, puppies, shush. Earth. And then this is Mars. And this is Jupiter. Where are you, Jupiter? And this is Saturn. And then we're going to click on Saturn's rings. And that is Uranus. And this one is Neptune. This one is Pluto. Now, when we went over this in class today, I had already combined Saturn, the rings, and the planet together. So that's no biggie. I think the only thing that you have to think about is you just go into the object and just select those faces, and that'll fix it. So we save it. Planets are looking pretty lovely now. But what we want to do here is we want to fix up this texture because the UVs are messed up on it. So what we do is we go to Windows, Modeling Editors, go to UV Editor, and you bring this up. Now you want to have your UV toolkit open up as well. If it doesn't open up, you can go to Tools, and then this would be, if it's not up there, it'd say Show UV Toolkit. Very handy thing that is in newer versions of Maya. And then we want to select this guy here. You can right click on it and you can go to UV Shell. That'll select it. Press W and that'll select these guys. Now what you want to do here is you want to make sure that transform is opened up. It was already opened up before, but if you first open it up and it's going to look like this, you just open that up, roll that out, or whatever, get the party started, whatever you want to call that. Then you go down to Tools in that transform, and where it says Rotate, you'll have this one over here, which rotates 90 degrees clockwise, because right over there. So it'll do that. Now, over here, you can see it's all set up. So that's easy enough. And press F8 to get out of that, and we can see we have some nice rings over there. So we're all set there. Now all we have to do is combine these two guys together. So we can do this, so we can select both of them. Now we go over to our pop-up menu, go to Mesh, go to Combine, and they're combined. You'll notice over here, though, that we have Saturn Rings 1, Saturn Rings, and Saturn. These are artifacts so that you can undo them and you can have two separate pieces. But we don't want to do that. We want to make it just one single piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit, or we can bring up pop-up menu, Edit, Delete by Type, and History. And now it's missing, or now it's just one. Good. All right, we're all set there. But let's change this back. Double click on that so that we're looking just at Saturn. All right. So all of our planets are all set up, and we save it. And next part, we're going to set up our animation. Okay, to set up the animation, there are some things that you have to consider. What the planets are going to do is they are going to rotate around the sun because we have a lot of thanks to Copernicus for that. Although I forget who it was. Was it Pythagoras? One of the guys, I don't think it was Pythagoras. He did the harmonic series, but it was one of those guys that came up with the heliocentricity of the planets, but I don't think that they figured it out, that they all went around the sun. That would have been blasphemy in that time. So they're all going to go around the sun, and then the moon is going to go around the earth. So these are, initially you're like, hey, that's easy. Oh, you're just going to animate them around the sun. That would be your Dunning-Kruger showing. So we have now an axis around the sun. We have an axis around each planet, and then we have an axis with the moon is going to have its own axis. So you could essentially just so these guys, the center point is right here. You could move the center point so it's right in the middle of the sun and then just animate that. However, the problem with that is you won't be able to animate the planet itself spinning around. So in order to do that, you have to create a group around each object. And you'll figure out why as soon as you keep playing with this, it's pretty neat. So we click on one object and we're going to press Control G, which is group. You can see it shows you Control G there. So group, and then we're just going to go through each one of these guys and we're going to group it. So Control G, Control G, Control G, Control G, G, Control G, Control G, Control G, Control G. Now I have a whole bunch of them, but we don't know what these guys are, so we have to name these guys up. So this one here is sun. So we're going to go sun underscore group. This one here is Mercury. Mercury underscore group. This is Venus. Venus underscore group. This is Earth. Earth underscore group. This is Mars. Mars underscore group. This is Jupiter. Jupiter underscore group. And we skipped Saturn. This is Uranus underscore group. This is Neptune underscore group. This is Pluto underscore group. This is the Moon underscore group. There's Saturn underscore group. All right, so you may have noticed that once we created each group, now the center point for each one is, you have to click on the group itself, is right in 0, 0, 0, right in the center where the sun is. So this is very handy. Now, if we want to rotate these guys around now, you can rotate around like that. And be sure to undo that. And so let's see here. Now, the sun itself does rotate very slightly. And so that one, we're going to rotate it just a little bit. Okay, let's get this set up. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to parent this moon, we're going to make the moon a child of the Earth. It sounds so hippie-like. So we click on the Earth, and then we control click on Pluto, and then we press, oh, no, no, what am I talking about? We click on the Earth, control click on the moon, and then we press P. Oh, I did the wrong one. This is the child, and then we do the Earth, and then we press P, and now the Earth, the moon is parented to the Earth. There is one issue, however, that we need to fix, and that is that the center point for the moon is still right in the middle of the sun. We want the center point to be right in the middle of the Earth. So we'll go to shading, we'll go to wireframe, and we hold down D to move the center point. I'm going to move that closer here, a little closer, and we're going to zoom in a little bit more so we can see the top of the Earth, North Pole as it were. And we're going to hold down D again, we're going to hold down V, and then we're only going to hold on to this one axis, the x-axis, and then we're going to aim it right at the North Pole there and lift up. Now we have it nicely set up so the moon is parented to the Earth, and there we are. Okay. Now we could ultimately set it up so that that everything is parented to the sun, in which case, if we're moving the whole world or the universe around, which it actually does as it's going through space. It all moves together. Everything looks like it's going, like it's staying stationary, but in the time of the universe, it actually is moving. And then I'm going to save this and pause it for a second, quiet these dogs down, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. So we're going to start out really simple with some of the animating, and I'll show you a few things here. Let's click on the sun, but we're going to open up the sun group, and to open up a group, you just click on that plus sign, and it'll open it up. You'll notice, though, that if I press the plus sign on Earth, that it only opens up just these two guys. If I wanted to open up everything, I would have to click Shift and then the plus sign, and then it opens up all of the little elements of the Earth. Okay, so we're going to take this one. Now, each time you are going to go move something, you have to make a keyframe first, and you can keyframe it in a couple different ways. You can press S, or you can choose the thing that's going to change, like which is the Y-axis for rotation. You could right-click on rotate, and you could select key selected. But just for the ease of what we're doing here, I want to show you what it's like if you just press S. What it does there is it's going to key all of these guys. Sometimes you don't really want that. Sometimes you actually want it to just be one. For Saturn, I kind of want it to like be at a little bit of an axis. I don't know how Saturn actually rotates in the solar system. Sorry to say, but I'm going to leave it like that. So the sun now has that one keyframe over there, and then we're going to just go up to the end of this and to 120, and then we're going to change the rotation of the sun to be 360. And now you notice it's on the next one to type in, I press escape, and then I'm out of that. And then I'm going to press S again, and it's keyframed to that. So if I look at this and I see it going there, it's now animated. If I press play, it should loop itself. Go around. So you'll see it's rotating, but you'll also notice that it starts off slowly, and then it gets faster, and then it slows down, and then it continues to rotate. So the sun doesn't do that. What that's doing is called ease in, ease out. And you go to Windows, you go to animation editors and you go to the graph editor. This is where we're going to do a lot of neat stuff. So you'll see that it goes this slow movement up there and it goes over there. And so we're going to select all of these keyframes and we're going to click right here for linear tangents. And just like that, it goes from one to the next. So now if we go back here and we press play, and it's looping, you see it immediately starts and it keeps a constant velocity. And when it goes around, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. There's a tiny little break, but that's only because it's going from here back to the beginning. Okay, so let's do the same thing with the moon. And we could click on the moon, but remember that's only going to animate the moon itself. And well, we're going to start with clicking on the moon. So let's click on the moon. And do we have a texture on the moon? Why didn't somebody tell me we didn't have a texture on the moon? So I'm going to click on Hypershade, bring that up, find the moon texture, and then apply. There we go. Okay, now the moon is textured. So we'll click on the moon and we keyframe that, and then we'll go up to 120. We'll go over here, we'll do 360. Now, here's the funny part. You're going to say, but everything doesn't go at 360. There's a couple things about that. First, this is relative. It's not. It's a bit of a caricature of the planets. But we're going to change that when I show you how we adjust the whole thing. When I pressed S in order to keyframe it. Because if we were to right now, if we were to animate all these guys, they would all go around at the same velocity and the same speed, and we know that they don't do that. We know that certain planets go around faster than the others. I don't know the velocity of the planets around, so I'm just going to start with the middle ones going faster and slower as they go out. That just seems like it's the way that it would normally go. So I'm going to make the moon now rotate around the sun, rotate around the Earth. So I open this guy up, Shift open, and then I go to the moon group, and the moon group is right there. And so the moon rotates in a counterclockwise fashion around the Earth. So what we want to do is we want to go right over here to the beginning, and we want to press S for a keyframe on the moon group. Then we want to go all the way over 120, and we want to click on Rotate Y, and we type in 360, and escape there, and then press S. So, oh, no, that's right. We're going counterclockwise. There we go. Okay. Now we can also rotate. The Earth, and the Earth also rotates counterclockwise. So I'm going to go there. We're going to click on the Earth group. No, we're not. I'm going to click on the Earth. We're going to keyframe that. So S. I'm going to go over to 120. I'm going to rotate Y. 360. So that should be rotating. Oh, didn't do it right. 360. Press S. There we go. So these guys are going to be rotating at different speeds. You'll notice eventually. All right, so we have that started. Okay. Oh, also I noticed that I don't think I showed you how about the tangents for the Earth, or for the rotation. So this is the graph editor, So I actually didn't show you what it looked like inside of the graph editor because I had it on a secondary monitor. Sorry about that confusion. So let's see. So we select a key, and then we go to linear right there, and that will make it nice and smoothly rotated. Okay, and you can also see here that we have one selected there, we have one over here, and this is the ease in, ease out thing. When we click on linear, it makes it go straight from one to the next. All right, so now we have the start of it. And we can go on each of these planets and we can do the same thing. All right, and Mercury also rotates counterclockwise. So we're going to start here, click on that, go all the way over here, go over here, 360, tab, escape, S. And Venus is also counterclockwise. Make sure we just have Venus selected. Over there, press S at the beginning, and then go over here, type in 360, escape, and S. So now all these guys are going. It's going to go through all these planets and add it. Okay, I might have gotten Venus wrong about the counterclockwise, but Mars does look like it's going counterclockwise. So there's 0 or 1, 120, and then we go to 360 on that one, and then press S. So I think if we were going to go to Venus and change that, we'd probably just click on Venus, go to 120, click over here. I think if we do minus 360 and escape and then S, that should make it, yeah, there we go. Now it's going clockwise. Okay, let's do that with the other ones. And like I said, you're probably like, hey, they don't all rotate the same way. Again, caricature, and they also don't rotate at the same speed. We're going to change that eventually with the graph editor on the same screen so that you can see it. Jupiter, we're going to do a keyframe there, go to the end, go to Y, 360. All right, I'm just going to make everything go counterclockwise. All right, there. And here is Saturn. And then for Saturn, if I were to do Saturn right now and key everything, we have one that's already rotated. So that would kind of make things a little whack. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over here, key Y, because I know Y is going to rotate. So I click on rotate Y, I hold down the right mouse button, I go key selected. So that's at 0. I go all the way to 120, click here, and I go 360, and press escape, and then I click on rotate Y again, and I say key selected. So now it should rotate right along only that axis like that. I'm going to do the rest of these guys, and key that, go to 120, to pin 360, and escape, S for keyframe, and over here, in the beginning, press S for keyframe, go over here, and then type in 360 and Y, press S again, go to Pluto, go back to 0 or 1, press S, and then go all the way to 120, type in 360 here, and escape, then press S, and all these guys should be doing their own little rotations. Okay, so that's the individual rotations. Now we get to rotate the groups. So we save it, and the sun is already rotating in itself. Mercury is over here. We're going to do the same thing like we did before. So we press S for the initial keyframe, and then we're going to move it all the way over here, all to 120. And then we go over here, we type in 360, and then escape, and then keyframe. So now if we look at this, we can see whoosh, goes right around just like that. That's the sound that Mercury makes. No, it doesn't. There's no sound in space. Nobody can hear you scream. All right, and then let's click on Venus. Go to 1, press S, go all the way, and we remember we clicked on the Venus group over there. And we've gone to 120, go over to rotate Y, type in 360, press escape, press S, and now we're going to click on the Earth group, and then we go back here. You'll notice now those two guys are moving, and now we click S for that, then we go to 120, rotate Y, type in 360, escape, S. Now that's moving. And you'll notice here that when I go around, they're all going at the same speed. So again, going to fix that in the graph editor. And then we're going to click on the Mars group, not Mars itself. We're clicking on the Mars group. And make sure we're at 1. Press S for keyframe. Go to 120. Go rotate Y. 360, escape, and S. And now we see Mars is going. We click on the Jupiter group, go back to 1, press S, go to 120, rotate Y, type in 360, tab, escape, and press S, and we have Jupiter. And then we go to Saturn, and go back to 1, keyframe, up to 120, rotate Y, 360, tab, escape, and then S for that. And now those are going. 3 more, and now we click on Uranus, go back to 1, press S for keyframe, go to 120, go to rotate Y, 360, tab, escape, then press S. That's working. Then we click on Neptune, go to 1, press S, go all the way to 120, rotate Y, 360, press escape, and then press S. Now that's all going. And finally we go to Pluto. Go back to 1, press S for a keyframe, go up to 120, click on rotate Y, 360, tab, escape, press S. Now they're all like that. Cool. So now these guys are all going to rotate, but you'll also notice that they're also rotating on their own axes, which is pretty cool. Some of them you can tell, some of them you can't. So we also didn't do, like, the Earth should be slightly tilted, but we can't tilt it right now because we have all these guys keyframed. We could get rid of those in the outliner, but again, caricature, so they're just going to, it's not going to be super exact. All right, so we have all these guys keyframed. Now it's up to us to make sure that these guys are going to go at different speeds. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to pause it, and I'll be right back.